The calm manipulator feels safer because your nervous system mistakes low volume for low risk. By the end, the decision rule is simple. Calm should create clarity, not make you easier to steer. This is not about diagnosing someone from one moment. It is about tracking whether the same interaction leaves you with more agency or less. Here is the everyday scene. They speak slowly. They use careful words. They act like your concern is the emotional part of the room while their version is the mature one. That ordinary surface is why the pattern can hide for so long. The core pattern is control hidden inside composure. The words may sound acceptable. The emotional result is the part to study. If the exchange repeatedly makes your choices smaller, the performance is not the whole story. The reason it works is simple. A steady tone lowers your guard, then the conversation moves away from behavior and toward whether you are being reasonable enough. Your brain wants the uncomfortable moment to end, so it may accept the easiest explanation before it checks the repeated behavior. This is where people lose clarity. They try to decide whether the other person meant harm, sounded sincere, or had a difficult day. Those questions can matter later, but they are not the first protection point. The first protection point is aftermath. After the interaction, are you clearer about what happened? Are you clearer about what changes next? Or are you more anxious about sounding grateful, calm, forgiving, easy, or reasonable enough? Maybe you say a joke hurt you, and they answer with a soft voice about how sensitive you have been lately. Nothing sounds cruel on the surface, but now the topic is your sensitivity instead of the joke. Notice the shift in that example. The visible mood may improve, but the standard becomes harder to name. You are not responding to one sentence anymore. You are responding to a rule that keeps moving whenever you try to look at it directly. Maybe they offer advice in a calm way, then keep repeating it until your own choice starts sounding childish. You are not being shouted down. You are being gently moved away from trusting yourself. That second example matters because manipulation often does not feel like force while it is happening. It can feel like wisdom, repair, maturity, generosity, concern, or emotional intelligence. The test is whether those things return your judgment to you or quietly take it away. A healthy pattern can tolerate specifics. It can handle a calm question. It can let behavior stay on the table without making your tone, gratitude, memory, or forgiveness the main issue. A pressure pattern reacts differently. It often becomes cloudy right when clarity would help. It wants the mood resolved before the behavior is named. It wants access restored before the standard changes. Use this phrase when you need something concrete. I can hear the calm voice, but I still need the exact behavior named. You do not have to say it dramatically. Say it once, calmly, and then watch whether the answer becomes clearer or more evasive. The mistake to avoid is this: do not reward composure by dropping the original issue. Short-term relief can feel like safety, especially when your body is tired of tension. But relief only matters if it leads to a cleaner next choice. Write down the sequence in plain language. What was said? What changed? What did you feel pressured to give up? What answer would make the next step specific? Notes are not about building a case against someone. They are about protecting your memory from the mood of the moment. This also keeps the lesson behavior based. You do not need to call someone a label. You can say, when this happens, I leave with less clarity. You can say, I need the standard named. You can say, I am not making a final decision while the pattern is still foggy. The strongest boundary is often slower access. Do not rush to soothe the tension before the behavior is clear. Do not make a promise while you are relieved. Do not over-explain just to make the other person comfortable again. Then look for repetition. One confusing moment can be stress. A repeated shape is different. When the same emotional ending keeps returning, you are allowed to treat the pattern as data. The final takeaway is this: real care, real repair, and real support should make your next honest choice easier. If the interaction keeps making you smaller, foggier, rushed, guilty, or dependent, slow down and trust the pattern more than the performance. Another useful test is whether the advice creates clarity outside the conversation. If it only sounds good while you are listening, it may not be practical enough yet. Make the pattern concrete. Write down what happened, what was said, what changed, and what the next step would be if everyone were acting in good faith. Then compare that clean version to the real behavior. The gap between those two things is often where the pattern becomes visible. The goal is not to become suspicious of everything. The goal is to become less easy to confuse when the same kind of moment keeps repeating. Bring this back to the calm manipulator feels safer for one reason without making it bigger than it needs to be. The useful move is to notice the small, repeatable shift. What changed after the interaction? Did you gain a clearer choice, or did you become more anxious about choosing at all? That question matters because manipulation often hides inside aftermath. The conversation may sound normal while it is happening. The cost shows up later, when you are replaying every sentence, softening your own memory, and trying to make the confusing part your responsibility. A grounded person can hear a clear question without turning it into a loyalty test. They may disagree, but they do not need to punish the question. That is one of the simplest ways to separate tension from control. You can also ask what the pattern rewards. Does it reward honesty, repair, and clearer boundaries? Or does it reward silence, guessing, over-explaining, and emotional self-abandonment? Patterns become easier to understand when you look at what they train you to do. If the answer is uncomfortable, move slowly. You do not need a dramatic confrontation to start protecting your judgment. Sometimes the first healthy step is just refusing to make a permanent decision while you are confused, rushed, guilty, or emotionally cornered. The final reminder is this: clarity should make your world more workable. It should help you name the next honest step. If a person, tool, or system keeps giving you intensity without clarity, treat that as a signal to slow down and widen your perspective. A second useful lens is repetition over mood. Anyone can have a tense day. Anyone can communicate poorly once. The question is whether the same emotional shape keeps returning, and whether you are always the one who has to shrink, chase, prove, or apologize to restore peace. That is why the safest advice is usually boring. Slow down, name facts, keep records, ask for specifics. Wait until your body is calm before sending the message that could be forwarded, cropped, or used as the new topic. It also helps to separate urgency from importance. Something can feel urgent because your nervous system wants relief, not because a wise decision is required in the next 5 minutes. When the pressure spikes, time is often the protection. The strongest boundary is not always a dramatic speech. Sometimes it is a smaller pattern repeated calmly. Fewer explanations, clearer questions, one message instead of 6, a decision made after sleep instead of during panic. That is the viewer promise, not a perfect label, not a fantasy where every confusing person is exposed instantly. The promise is a sharper pause between stimulus and response, so the next move belongs to the viewer instead of the pattern. For content, this matters because the audience does not need another scary label. They need a repeatable decision rule. If a moment makes them abandon facts and chase emotional relief, that is the exact point where the lesson becomes useful. End by returning to agency. The viewer cannot control whether someone else becomes clear, fair, or consistent. They can control the speed of their response, the quality of their notes, the questions they ask, and the point where they stop rewarding confusion. Another useful sign is how the other person handles a calm delay. A healthy dynamic can tolerate a little time while you think. A pressure dynamic treats your pause like a threat because the whole pattern depends on speed, guilt, or emotional urgency. Pay attention to repair after the moment passes. Real repair becomes more specific over time. It names the behavior, accepts the impact, and changes the next interaction. A reset only tries to restore warmth while leaving the same confusing rule in place. If this helped, save it for the next moment that sounds reasonable but feels confusing. Subscribe for sharper breakdowns of the patterns people usually notice too late.